Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome back inside the Lock Shop. Dusty and Huss back with you once again. As always, the Lock Shop brought to you by great partners at Coolbet Canada. And if you would like to sign up for an account today, just go to coolbet.com, use the code LOCKSHOP when you do, and you'll get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. Huss, what's happening, buddy?
Well, what a weekend we had here.
Oh, boy.
I'm actually quite happy that we have the Lock Shop before Winnipeg Sports Talk because, with the format of our show on WST, I'm going to be expected to talk at length about the first preseason game last night between the Jets and the Oilers and the game tonight and some of the more local stories. And I'm going to push any talk of the unholy alliance between the Swifties and the Chiefs Kingdom until the end of the program. But we got 45 minutes to kick it around here, talk about yesterday's stories in the NFL. And once again, the Super Bowl champs at the front of the line when it comes to the attention run. And let me just tell you this, what a great game to bring your new girlfriend to. One that's over at halftime. I mean, you know how bad the Bears have to be to get that game taken off national television at halftime with her in the crowd, with them panning over there every 5 minutes? It had to have been a tough call for Roger Goodell or whoever made that call. But anyways, yes, what a day. The Taylor Swift game at Arrowhead yesterday, and a pretty wild day in the National Football League. And I'm just glad that Taylor Swift came to gather all the highlights and the headlines, so we don't have to remember the fact that I took Denver plus 6.5 against Miami Dolphins, and they put up 7 freaking points yesterday.
I'm glad you brought it up, buddy. Oh my God. I mean, there's a lot to unpack. Like the old investment there, Trevor Lawrence. I've turned all of my shares in Trevor Lawrence into CJ Stroud rookie cards now, I guess. I don't know. That was a real shocker to me. That was extremely disappointing. And you on the Broncos plus 6.5. Tough look as well. How about my Cowboys minus 12.5 on the road against the Cardinals? Holy smokes.
Yeah, that I guess we can just kind of go around to a bunch of the games from yesterday.
Yeah.
The Cowboys game was legitimately shocking. And I'm sure there were many of you like me that ponied up to the old Coolbet live odds around halftime and say, okay, what are we looking at for the Dallas money line here? Because we know they're going to win the game, right? I mean, especially after what happened last week with Carolina or with the Cardinals in the second half. I mean, they were up 21 and lost. I mean, 21, I think it might have been in the fourth quarter.
To the Giants.
I know Trayvon Diggs is a great player, but I have a hard time in believing that his absence turned the Cowboys from a team that looked like they were on a collision course for a battle of undefeateds in week 5 with the Niners into the team that lost to the Cardinals, who most people are expecting to be the worst team in the National Football League. But this just goes to show, and we talk about it all the time, in all our hours of talking about the league going into the season. You know what? Just come back and talk to me in week 2 or week 3, and we'll laugh at some of the things that we'd said earlier. Now, listen, the Cardinals still stink. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, listen, winning's not easy in the National Football League. And if you got a team with a bunch of guys that are playing hard, playing for jobs, playing for opportunity, you got to be ready to do that. And color me not shocked that if a team was going to shit the bed against the Cardinals, it would be a Mike McCarthy coach team.
Sounds about right, hey? Like, that's absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. VR Montenegro says, I rode with you both this weekend right off of a cliff. That sounds about right. Like, this is one of the worst football weekends we've had probably since we started the Lock Shop. I mean, the CFL has been tough to us a couple weeks here now. And I was joking about it yesterday on Twitter, on X, whatever. the Jacksonville Jaguars will be on the suspended list for at least 1 week as I continue to try to figure out what the hell is going on there as well. So first addition to the suspended list. With that being said, your advice on the Chargers end up working out okay, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, all in all, to be honest, it wasn't a terrible week for me. I mean, we set the bar very high with those with the parlays.
The parlays, yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's there's a reason why they're plus 550, plus 600. I mean, you know, they don't always come in. And we had a couple close. I mean, the game that I had in on both of mine was Indy. Never mind covering. They won that.
Yeah, that was good. Yep.
Minshew, again, healthy debate. Best backup quarterback in the NFL? Maybe.
You are a Minshew guy.
Listen, that was why I picked them last week, and they look great. And I was a point away from being 3-1 in the best bets. I had Pittsburgh. Shout out to the Steelers last night. The Steelers defense, that was great. And I sort of doubled down after the late game. Also got in moneyline Steelers last night and ended up being at plus 139 because the line in that game moved to 3, closer to it. So they did well. And yes, the Chargers actually came through. And I don't know if we want to get into that game. It might take us half an hour to go through the ups and downs of that Minnesota Charger game. But you knew that it would be bizarre. You knew that it would be crazy. And it certainly went down that way. I mean, Brandon Staley going for it on 4th and 1 from, what was it, about their own 24, 25-yard line there? I'll be honest. I don't hate the call.
Finish it off there.
You get that, you win the game. However, like that play that they called?
Yeah.
To Josh Kelly, Justin Herbert is still 6'5", right? Like he's still massive. Like, can you not get half a yard with your quarterback? Maybe a couple of guys pushing. Does anyone ever watch the Eagles play?
Yeah.
No.
Just have everybody coming behind Hurts and push them straight ahead. Do the same.
I mean, they needed a half yard, but then for it to go down the way, I mean, it was sort of a comedy of errors. Staley making that call, it blowing up in his face, and then. Like, were you watching like that last 30 seconds where the Vikings get it down there? They've got the 1st and goal, but it was so loud that Cousins couldn't hear the play call. They didn't have any timeouts. It probably should have been incumbent on Kirk just to go and spike the ball. So they had 3 chances, but they ended up rushing it. And then next thing you know, it's deflected and it's a pick. So, I mean, the Vikes could be 3-0 right now, which is the hilarious thing about it. I mean, there's some really bad 0-3 teams. I don't think Minnesota's that team, but we are definitely seeing some regression because the Vikings won every single one of these close games last year. And this year, they're coming up on the wrong end of it now 3 times so far.
We haven't dove into the Broncos Dolphins here outside of you saying that you were on the Broncos to keep it close. I mean, are the Broncos that bad, or is Miami's offense just, I mean, when you're seeing Tua dropping no-look shovel passes for touchdowns, I mean, they were toying with the Broncos, but can they continue to do this offensively? Because they look like a juggernaut through 3 games offensively.
Well, I mean, not against
real teams.
I was going to say good teams, not against even average teams. I mean, that mess in Denver. So to answer your question, yes, the Broncos really are that bad, historically bad. And by the way, you know that Mike McDaniel had the opportunity.
I know he did.
To kick a field goal like late in the game to make it 73, which would have been a record. And then shout out to Mike McDaniel for calling off the Dogs at 70. Great guy. But there's a little bit of blood. I mean, he goes way back with Denver, right? He was their ball boy.
He's a ball boy, yeah.
Sort of his coming up. And I have a feeling that he remembered that they didn't want to interview him for their head coaching job and went another direction. And he's turned out to be one of the brightest young minds in the NFL coaching the Miami Dolphins. And while the Broncos are dealing with what they're dealing with right now.
You see the percentage of snaps that they're using motion on right now? Like, it's like over 40% of their plays that they're running, man. You're right. I mean, it looks like they got this little mini waggle going right now. Teams haven't been able to adjust.
And who's the preeminent offensive genius in the National Football League? Andy Reid. Andy Reid I mean, if you look back into the Super Bowl last year, I mean, remember they had those 2 identical touchdowns, one to Sky Moore, one to Tony on the right side. Again, that was confusing the Eagles with pre-snap motion. And Mike McDaniel, maybe more than anybody in the league, I think, has kind of been noticing where those trends have gone. And then with the weapons that he has, and again, that was without Jalen Waddle. I mean, you've got him in, Tyreek Hill, they're running all over the place beforehand. I mean, the defenses seem to be completely confused before the ball even snaps right now. And if you're already on your heels before the ball is snapped against a team with the firepower of the Miami Dolphins, you're screwed. And no one's been screwed harder than the Broncos yesterday by Miami.
What goes on with the Broncos then? What do you do, Huss? You just brought in the new guy. You're 0-3. It doesn't look like you got much going offensively. Obviously, you see what just happened to the defense. You got offensive linemen who are extremely frustrated and sick and tired of losing. What are you supposed to do here if you're Denver? I don't know what you can do. You just kind of got to ride this thing out.
Well, Bronco fans, if you want a bright side to all of this, you got the Bears next week.
And the Broncos are actually, I think, from what I heard, a road favorite after losing by 50.
That will tell you. I saw a picture in the Chicago Sun-Times today. You know how in the newspapers, the writers will go and they'll do a report card of the game. And then, okay, quarterbacks get this grade, DBs, and they go through every position. Every single one was an F. 15 Fs for the Bears yesterday. And they're in a bad spot. That being said, I think they were sold a lot of hope this year that this was going to be different. Justin Fields was going to get it together. I don't know whether he's the guy. Matt Eberflus, not the guy as the head coach. He's defensive head coach, really? It didn't look like it much. And I guess maybe they just don't have the athletes and they made that trade, so they got to wait for next year and to get those multiple draft picks. But anybody that thought that the Bears are going to be contending in that division, I think, has probably realized that is not happening this year. And just thinking about this Denver-Chicago game, Roger Goodell should proactively, for the sake of the integrity of the league, just block that game out right now. Just announce that, I'm sorry, we will not be showing the Bears and Broncos on television next week to uphold the standard that we've created here in the National Football.
It's funny you bring that up because I just tweeted out with a link to this chat. I said, can the NFL flex the Bears and Broncos to 2 a.m, like the middle of the night? So like nobody needs to see it. The only people that see it at that point would be so drunk probably that they wouldn't even remember the game anyway, Huss.
Yeah, that's probably most of Bears fans this year for the most part. You got to get after it early because you don't want to be in a position where, you have to really just focus in on the game because the games are that ugly right now. By the way, speaking of games at 2 a.m, or in this case for us, like 8 a.m. or 7 a.m, the NFL had the opportunity to move. Well, they had the opportunity to play this game, and we thought that this was going to be the game that was coming to Germany. But they moved it, and it's the Chiefs and Dolphins playing in Frankfurt.
Oh, boy.
In early November. That could be the game of the year. And that's unfortunately going to be an 8 a.m-er. Although I was looking to tickets to that to see if I could pull off. Of course you were. Frankfurt trip. A couple of my buddies from KC are going. I mean, that would sort of be bucket list stuff, would be amazing. And that game, Tyreek Hill going back up against the Chiefs. But anyways,
you should do that, man. One. You should do that.
That'd be great. Get out there, a little Oktoberfest, few days in Frankfurt to get ready for that game. Be unbelievable. That's in early November. But apparently, like, unprecedented demand for tickets for that game too. Like the get-in price. Hey, here's another question, and I was thinking about this throughout yesterday with the onslaught of Taylor Swift Chiefs stuff. Like, and this is a legitimate question. Does the hype and hysteria around Taylor Swift, like, if even 10% of the Swifties decide that they are all in on the Chiefs kingdom and they want to go to games because they might get a chance to see Taylor, like, what does that do to the resale value of Chiefs tickets, which are already super high? Like, I got tickets to this game in Minnesota in a couple weeks. It's already the most expensive Vikings regular season ticket in probably 10 years. Basically, probably since Favre came back. Like, that's the amount of demand on it. So it was already there. If those tickets get the Taylor bump, I mean, are we talking about a windfall on the resale market for people with tickets unlike anything we've seen before? I'm not sure. Anything is possible with the Swifties. That's an army.
I mean, by then they might not even be together anymore. I mean, we'll have to see how long this lasts. But what I was surprised about is that she's already in the suite with the mom.
Happily married, 2 beautiful kids, and this is the guy on the show that doesn't believe in true love. Wow.
I was very surprised to hear, like, she goes from, ooh, she might be there. Ooh, they might. And she's with the mom. She's with the mom in the suite already. A lot of relationships, you're not introducing them to the mom or the parents for months, Huss. And all of a sudden, she's right there, all like sitting right beside the mom, like future mother-in-law, possibly. All of it seemed too good to be true there for a little bit. So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, if it doesn't work out, it's one of the most epic breakup songs of all time. So it's going to be amazing one way or the other.
Okay, just for the record, and I'll get to this a little bit more on WST towards the end of the show when we're screwing around. But for the record, I am a supporter of Taylor Swift with Travis Kelce. I think they're both superstars. They deserve each other. Now, I don't know enough about her to know, I mean, what her motives are. I truly believe she's just looking for a good guy. She's got one, and maybe this works out. I do have like 2% of me has this terrible, terrible fear that maybe Taylor Swift, after going through all these other dudes and I mean, she's the biggest star in the world, has realized that the ultimate prize, the ultimate specimen when it comes to men on planet Earth is in fact Patrick Mahomes.
Oh,
and this is a long play.
Wow.
To get to Pat. And she probably has seen the quarterback show. He's like, his wife's kind of annoying, but he's such a great guy. Obviously, she can't just roll in with them married. So by infiltrating the Chiefs, going out with Kelce, who's his best friend, they sort of get to know the Mahomes, and then fast forward a year down the road, the next thing you know, the Chiefs have been broken up from the inside by the biggest star on the planet Earth. That's my only fear. I hope it doesn't happen, but otherwise, Swifties, all aboard. Let's go win another Super Bowl,
buddy.
The power between these two units together, it can't be stopped.
Your theory of this being the beginning of the end of the Chiefs because she's going to use Kelce to get to Mahomes is an all-time lock shot moment. Well done, buddy. I like that a lot. All right, we got Pat. All right, we got Jake. Jake's waiting. Jake's gonna hop in here. We'll set up. We'll get his thoughts on everything. Jake, what do you think of this theory that Taylor Swift is trying? Maybe she's been planted by the Bills to go and break up the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you think of all these theories, buddy?
Listen, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out in the social realm. Swifties like to do their detective work. I think Huss is just as high level detective work here as the Swifties.
You can't rule anything out at this level. I mean, the stakes are high. The stakes are high when it comes to.
We need odds on this. We need odds on this, man.
Some Swifty, like some Taylor Swift, Kelce, like where will they be seen next? Odds or something, right? What's the next game she'll be at? We got to get maybe something like that.
Did you see their exit, by the way? The exit, he was in that purple convertible and got her in. I think Portnoy said, like, this is right out of Greece. You couldn't even make that up.
I don't know what's going on with this. There were some Swifties last week saying it was all just a publicity thing, and Jason Kelce had gone on the radio and was talking about it. I mean, I can't believe in the year of the Lord 2023 we're sitting here talking about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, but hey, here this is the world we live in, and stuff moves fast. And yeah, she was the star of the show on Sunday among 100 other storylines. I feel like we could do a 2-hour lock shop today
Yes,
just from what we could talk about between,
Well,
70 points
I want this
to
set up. Will Taylor Swift be with Travis Kelce by the Super Bowl? That's what I want to know. Right? That's what we said. That's what we
Be on
said it
the
at.
field afterwards,
Yeah.
raining confetti as
Yeah.
they do it again.
Have they announced?
Will she be on the field, celebrating a Chiefs victory?
Have they
You
announced
might have to look
halftime
this
show for this year's Super Bowl?
They did.
Who
It
is
was
it?
Usher. He said no, Usher.
Oh,
Usher. And by the way, they announced that like 4 hours earlier, and it got completely hijacked.
I was going to say, I didn't even know it was Usher.
No one even knows that. And they were asking her to do it. But I think it's quite clear she is planning on being busy that day with Mama Kelsey, watching the team on the field right now.
Giving the old snake eye to Mrs. Mahomes.
If it's, you know what, if it's Eagles Chiefs again, it's going to be tough, right? Isn't she claimed to be Philly fan,
Yeah.
and then now she's a Chiefs fan, and
I
don't know. I got some friends who jump around on teams like this as well. So listen, I don't want to take any Swifties off. I'm good with them doing their thing, and we got Ryder Cup week, boys. We got a lot going on here.
Yeah, there is a lot going on.
I'd love to see the money line tickets for Texans Cardinals. If anyone can send me their Texans Colts Cardinals money line tickets, I'd love to see those.
Oh, that was big. What do you make of the Broncos getting slapped around to the tune of 70 and Mike McDaniel almost kicking a field goal for 73?
Listen, I mean, 70 points is an embarrassment, especially with this Broncos defense, which we've been talking about for the last, year and a bit here. All the games they could have won if Russ could have just gave him 20 points, right? That was the big story, right? If Russ can give him 20, then this team could have won a lot more games last season and then to start this season. But you give up 70, has the team completely given up? You have to make a move at quarterback, I think, which is crazy to say because you're paying Russ all this money. But it feels like the team's just they're done. They're just we can't do it anymore. After that loss last week to the Commanders, and then you go in and you get one of the historically bad losses of all time in the NFL. What are you supposed to do? You've already changed the coach, right? So Peyton's probably not going anywhere. So it's time for him, make a decision, and maybe you got to sit Russ for a week and just see if the team can respond. And then, then you can talk about going back to old Russ.
It's funny talking about changing a quarterback for a team that just gave up 70 freaking points.
Yeah.
But in some ways, I for sure he plays this week because if they're have any chance of getting right and getting a win, it's against the Bears. And how funny is that, Jake, that they're opening up as road favorites after giving up 70 points? I mean, that tells you all you need to know about the Chicago Bears right now.
Yeah, the only worst team out there might be the Chicago Bears. The Cardinals picked up a win this week. You know what I mean? So it's how many 0-3 teams are left? There's some bad football going on right now in the NFL, but some good football too.
I was kind of focused, and it was such a busy early slate. It was tough to keep track of everything. I know you were paying attention to the Pats Jets game. What were the takeaways from that one, other than Zach Wilson probably might get yanked from an XFL game, never mind an NFL game?
Yeah, listen, the Pats aren't that good. I think that's they've been in some games here to start the season, obviously against some pretty good teams. Obviously, we see the Dolphins are a good football team. We'll really see how good they are. I think they get the Bills this weekend. The Eagles, we'll see what happens tonight, but we're expecting they're a good football team. So it's not like they've lost to necessarily not so good football teams, but the fact that you can't just take care of business easy against the Jets, I don't know how the Jets end up with the ball twice late with a chance to, drive for a touchdown and win. The Patriots defense is solid. This Christian Gonzalez on defensive back he's pretty incredible. I'd like to see what happens, when we see a quarterback a little bit better than Zach Wilson, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a long season for Pats fans. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to get excited about a win over the Jets. We beat the Jets, 15 in a row now. So I think it's more on what the Jets are as opposed to what the Patriots are as of this past week.
Well, and then you feel all great about the win. And then you look and see what the Bills and Dolphins did yesterday, and you realize that this AFC East is
it's a nightmare.
Jake, what do you like tonight, man? What do you got here? We got a double dip. What do you think for these two games?
Yeah, I was just trying to come up with something here because I think I was thrown in the fire late for the lock shop. I feel like the Bengals got to get a win tonight. I know obviously the Burrow injury is a little concerning, but it just feels like, you know, and it's a little chalky, Bengals money line. But if you can mix something else in that you really like, I think that's kind of the bet that I'm circling on my card to say, the Bengals, they're at home. Not many teams start 0-3 and make the playoffs. This is one they got to go get. And not that the Rams are bad by any means. I just think like if they can't figure it out tonight, you're immediately behind the eight ball. And then in an AFC that's clearly it might be even better than we initially thought with how good the Dolphins are. And go ahead, Hustle.
Just quickly on this game, I mean, we can't really talk about it without talking about Joe Burrow. Now, this is from Diana Rossini 2 hours ago. Burrow is going through a workout this morning. I'm told there's optimism he will play, and his status for tonight is trending in the right direction. Burrow is campaigning with the coaching staff and trainers to play. However, his status is still uncertain. And then Schefter said they'll know by 4:00 if he's going right now.
I think and sorry to cut you off here, Huss. I think since this morning to right now, the line's already moved a point. I think it did.
It was at 2 this morning. Yeah. When I was doing the Cool Bet Hotlines on the Nielsen show today, it was at 2. I looked, it's just at 3 right now. So it's already moved a point, I guess, with the news that he's trending towards wanting to play at least. So
he's a tough guy. I mean, I don't expect him to be very, super mobile tonight, and not that he ever really is, but he's going to have to stand in. He's probably going to have to take a few hits and, Chase. Like, I got Mixon and Chase in my fantasy teams. I know no one cares, but to start the season, it's not been a fun ride here. It's been a bit of a grind. So I'm hoping for a big game from the Bengals, and that's kind of where I lean in terms of that game. Eagles Bucks. You think 5 doesn't seem like a whole lot. I know the Bucks are 2-0, but they beat a Vikings team who's now 0-3. They beat a Bears team who is very, very bad. It's chalky, but I do lean Eagles. I think Eagles are all around the better team. I think that Bucks defense is solid. Maybe it's a play on the under. We could see a lot of rushing of the football tonight, especially if that Philly pass defense is, the pass rush is anything like it's been the first 2 weeks. So, maybe the under, maybe it's a teaser with Philly to, down to like a money line and under up to 51.5 or something, something along those lines is what I'd lean. But yeah, just in terms of sides and totals, that's kind of where I'm at tonight. I haven't got a great look at the board. I didn't do too well yesterday, full disclosure to everybody listening. So I don't want to sit here and act like I've got the board. I'm seeing the board really well either. I mean, we could talk about the Jags for probably 30 minutes if we wanted to.
I said this morning on my show, the Jags basically decimated my Cool Bet account yesterday because I had them on like almost everything. That sucks.
I know. I'm going to be kicked off the lock shop. Maybe I'm going to get like suspended or something because I come on here like praising the words of the Jags. And I mean, I feel like we were all kind of on board with that. And then I'm just like, can you score? Like, just do anything to like give us something to believe in. And they just, I don't know. It was tough to watch. I got that ticket over 9.5 regular season wins, and that's the one that you chalk up as a W over the Houston Texans. So that's tough.
I mean, I was sitting here going, "Hey, how great the Chiefs' defense is." Maybe the Jags just aren't all that we cracked them up to be. I still think they'll be okay. I mean, Doug Peterson's a good coach. They've got a lot of great players there. It is somewhat puzzling, though, how pedestrian they've been so far up until this point. It's funny. Just as we're sitting here talking about Burrow, the line for this game tonight, I've seen the money line go from -149 to -156, now back a little bit to -154. And the Rams basically solid +3 right now. And if you did want to take the extra half point for the Rams, +3.5 at -122, I've been really impressed by the Rams, to be honest. And I mean, a way less than 100% Joe Burrow for a team that's been struggling. I don't think I'd have the confidence to lay the points with Cincy. I mean, I'm kind of going with what you said. If you do think that they find a way to get it done, go with the money line and don't worry about the points. But in that Philly-Tampa game, what intrigues me the most is the receiving props and the passing props for the Bucks, because I think we all agree that Philly's going to score some points. Their secondary hasn't been that good. There's two paths to this one. A, they could be up big time, and there could be a lot of garbage time where they're more than happy to keep them, and Baker will be throwing all day. But I mean, the Godwin number is 53.5. The Mike Evans number is 57.5. I think I'm hitting over on both of those guys. And Baker, while I know it's minus 130, but 229.5 for an offense that throws as much as they do at home. I kind of really like those offensive passing props for the Eagles tonight for a Bucks team that is 2-0. But yeah, we do have to remember who it was that they played, and two teams that are both 0-3 now as we go into the next week.
Well, listen, is there a few bets we can all kind of agree on? Maybe we get together some sort of partner parlay tonight
parlay here
and try to bounce back. I mean, obviously the weekend wasn't, our best work, but I'd love to give people reason to believe we can bounce back here.
Well, it's important to bounce back.
If you're looking at one of those player props, I can get on board with, Tampa passing the ball a little more with them likely trailing or, being in a game where, they need to do that. So,
I just think that they'll have a lot more success passing the football as opposed to running the football.
Mm-hmm.
And Baker, I mean, listen, the thing about Baker, I mean, he's not afraid to let her rip. And that has been sort of the MO for them right now. Yeah, I mean, for the receiver yards, Godwin is 53.5 at minus 110. Evans is 57.5 minus 133. So I think probably the money makes more sense to go on the Godwin side of things.
I was just going to throw in, where are we at on Swift rushing yards? It's set at 37.5.
Oh, he should crush that, right?
Well, that's why I'm wondering. I'm like, what am I missing here? Like 37.5.
Being back, and I think they're just unsure about, what we saw last week was Swift. I think we could probably all agree that he should now be the lead back, right? I don't think there's any question there. I know it was it was 1 week, and you shouldn't just overreact on 1 week, but it was a huge performance. Gainwell being back, who did start the year as the lead back, is I think the question mark on why Swift's number would be so low. But even 37.5, behind that O-line, even if he was, if he did a split share with Gainwell, how could he not, at least have 40?
Well, because Gainwell's set at 34.5. So it's a weird spot to be in with these two guys, I guess. Right. I would think with the way that Swift played last week and Gainwell coming back in, you should at least be good for 40 or something on the ground. I mean, I know you got to mix in Hurts rushing yards as well. The other one that's kind of a guy who's been red hot here, Puka Nacua, over 6.5 receptions at plus 100 tonight. Huss, any thoughts on mixing that in somewhere?
Listen, I'm in. You're speaking my language on all these things. I love I think the Swift 37.5 over makes a lot of sense. How do you not keep feeding him with the way that he played last week? And with Gainwell coming back, not that anyone thought that Gainwell was the RB1 of the Eagles, but if anything, they're in a position where they can run the ball a lot. And, both of those guys get theirs. But I like that one. And yeah, from the other game, I mean, I don't know how we go against Puka right now. He had 10 and 15 catches in his first two games. I mean,
it'd be tough not to get on him here over 6.5, man. I think we throw that into a parlay for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you guys, it's probably a public pick. You have to imagine with the way the number is and how many receptions, but he's getting the targets, right? So if he's getting the targets and he's had as many receptions as he's had, I'm with you guys. I think we can go, Nacua, we'll do 7+. We want to go Swift, maybe 38+. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
Over 37.5.
Yeah, over 37.5.
One of those receivers? Do we want to go Godwin, or what were you thinking there?
I do like those plays too, Huss. What are you thinking? Who do you like more, Godwin?
Well, to be honest, I mean, of the two, I like them both, but the Evans 58+ is minus 133. The Godwin is 53.5 at minus 110. So I think we get it, but I don't really think that should be that much different. I know Evans had a little bit more early on, but I think that gets straightened out, especially with with one stronger quarter than the other on the Eagles. So yeah, why don't we do Godwin 54 plus?
Okay.
And then the Swift rushing and the Puka catches.
As you can see here, I'm locking it in for us.
That's excellent. I love it. The magic,
7
everybody.
receptions.
The magic.
And sorry, I'm Godwin, Nakua, and Swift.
Swift
right?
over
Swift.
38 plus.
Yeah. 38
Hey, as he
plus.
locks that in, Huss, your thoughts on the over field goals tonight? You, Chaz, Big Uke is asking.
You know what? I mean, I'm on it. I mean, that much. What do we have today? Oh yeah, it's only plus 116. So I think it's a little bit more likely. But man, the primetime games. I mean, even the one that I didn't like it in, the Niner game, I believe it cashed. I know they had 3 early on. Maybe it was just touchdowns in the second half. But yes, plus 116. Uke, let's do it. Over 3.5 field goals. I mean, as I said, both of these teams I think will kick a couple. Part of me wants to bet the Bucs to cover the spread tonight and keep this game close.
Yeah,
I think both of these games actually have the potential to be somewhat interesting in the fourth quarter. I'd in fact be surprised if the Rams-Bengals game wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But again, and maybe it's just we're talking garbage time and Baker trying to come back and do a backdoor cover. I'm not really too sure, but I do think the Bucs have enough confidence from those first 2 games, and especially with Baker. And this is a huge test for him to sort of raise up. And let's think about what he did last year with the Rams in that primetime start when he'd been with the team for like 2 games.
He's a rise to the occasion type of guy. I'm with you there. I just, on paper, it's just a game I look at on paper, and it's like Philly. Philly, we're talking about a Super Bowl contender in Philly. Tampa, no one really expected anything of him, but maybe that's when Baker's at his best. Expectations are low. It's not expected to do anything with this Tampa team, even though they're in kind of a not so good division. I don't know. He's a wild card, right? So it's tough to say. I don't know. I'm still leaning towards kind of that teaser thing I was talking about earlier with maybe the Eagles down to like a money line and then maybe the under and go up to like a 50 something.
Hey, speaking of teasers and alternate lines. So yesterday, after the early games, I popped outside, was checking the account and the Chiefs game. And the line in that game had gone down to 11.5. And like I'd said before, this was either going to be one of these games that was a massacre or it was the Chiefs sleepwalking through the game and winning by, 8 to 10 points and not covering. So I got an adjusted line at even money at minus 13.5. But you know that they were also offering, and I kicked myself so much afterwards for not jumping on. They were offering a 29.5 line.
Customer request.
Pardon me?
Customer request.
Damn it.
really?
And I came through it. I can't remember what the number was, but it was like plus 650 maybe, or
I can't remember what the number was either, but we did have a request for the minus 29.5 line. I suppose that
probably a Bears fan.
So the Bears
probably
aren't
a
good.
Bears fan.
Also, the lock shop partner parlays up. Our boy Ev Dog is on it again. Plus 700.
Right
Plus
on it.
700 Ev Dog comes through. All right, so you can go find that right now in the exclusive section at CoolBet.
Also, we were talking about field goals, and I want to get this out before I forget. I think we're going to try the field goal frenzy again tonight.
Double? Yeah.
Evan also says plus 650 on the minus 29.5. That was the number.
It was plus 650?
Yeah.
Thanks,
I think
Ev.
he had put that one up last week. Sorry. Field goal frenzy tonight. I think we're going to have it in the exclusives. So it'll be over 6.5 combined field goals between the two games. Likely around an even money or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it was last week.
Up quite yet, but that's always a fun one if you are interested in the field goal. Oh, it is up minus 110. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's not it's not the big juice like we have on, the lock shop stuff, but if you do like the field goals, that's probably something you want to take a
Well, I
peek.
mean, and I think we're looking at the like when you're looking at the props. I mean, normally as we look at this, the primetime games, I find it's usually plus 120 or plus 125. Every now and then you'll get a plus 130 or 135, which I believe we had in that Giants Niner game. But when the teams have a propensity for field goals, it goes down a little bit. The Eagles Bucks is plus 116, which is a little lower than normal. And the kicking, let's see here for this Rams-Bengals game. We've got scoring. I don't see the field goal prop out yet. Am I missing it or?
Take a quick peek here for you.
It's got player kicking, so over under kicker points.
There's still a few markets to roll in on that second game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the market's still going to roll in.
Yeah.
So it looks like
that's good.
But I would imagine that game would be probably in the same sort of like plus 115 to plus 120. I mean, both of these teams will kick field goals, and that should be a good one tonight. I mean, last Monday was an absolute laugher. If you hit that one and then did either of the over the 4+ props on both games, you hit everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, this would have been great.
I'm already in. Huge. I'm already in on the Tampa Philly field goal prop. I'll probably jump on the other one on the side, and we'll go with the plus 6.5 at minus 110. Why the heck not?
Jake, thanks a lot for popping by. Huss, stick around. We'll hit some CFL here quickly. Then you can tee up Winnipeg Sports Talk as well. Jake, good stuff, man. Thanks a lot for popping by.
Thanks, boys. Magic number
Jays
3,
are back.
by the way.
There you
number
go.
3.
Jays are back.
There you go. That's right. There you go. That is Jake Bowen-Moss from Cool Bet. I mean, quickly, I guess. I think I'm gonna. I think I'll be on the Eagles -5 tonight, but I am going to get on the Rams +3. The Rams have started relatively well. I think I like the Bengals at 2, but I think I'll get the Rams at 3 on that game. Huss, Canadian Football League. We got to hit on this quickly.
I'm taking both underdogs tonight.
You're taking both dogs?
And I think I might actually take the Rams at 3.5. I guess I just take it at 3. If you push, you push. It's -104 is a pretty good number. I'm going to take the 5 with the Bucks.
I might if I'm going to tease something, I might tease the Bucks on like a 6-pointer and move the total up and take the under on that one as well. So, we'll see. But like that Lock Shop exclusive is already up. How about Dean Faithful trotting out for a 50-yarder to cover the spread on the final play of the game and blowing it wide, buddy?
I was watching the game. You were calling it. I was losing my mind. And I'm sitting there with the Elks +7.5. I thought we actually had it when they got it to 6 and then they got the ball back. But man, that quick 3 and out, they didn't take enough time. It was there in field goal possession. They get it. I'm like, we're screwed. It was an unbelievable roller coaster. And then Chris Jones doing the McVay and pulling him out with about 7 seconds. I'm like, I've said a lot of shit about you, Chris Jones, over this year and over the thing. But if you come through with this, you will be my guy going forward. And then Faithful, he spent too much time sipping the teacup after that.
Yeah.
He did it twice earlier. It was bad karma. Jinxed himself later on, and he missed it. That would have been, for that to have happened in the game the previous week with the Rams and Niners, for that to have happened in the Canadian Football League, it truly would have been an all-time moment. And your call was amazing too. I knew exactly what you were thinking. You said it too. Well, they're bringing out Faithful for this one. This is going to matter for a few people.
This is going to mean something to some of you. Yeah. It's just like, oh man, here we go. And then it was a long, he hadn't hit anything. He hadn't even attempted anything beyond 46 all year. And that was a 50-yarder. And we're going to have him in studio tomorrow morning. Apparently he's an absolute gem. So he's going to be popping by tomorrow morning. I don't know if I bring that up with him or not. But
EST tea party?
The EST.
Are you gonna get the fine china out?
Yeah, actually, we should have. He can drink from our A&W mugs we've got kicking around. I'll be, oh, here you go. You like a tea today, Dean? Maybe I'll get the teapot in when he joins us. Well, I'm a big tea guy myself, so he can give me some tips on teas, I guess. But what about the rest of the week? Quickly, anything else jump off the page for you? Toronto, damn Toronto. Hey, you get on them and it doesn't hit, then you go against them and they take care of business.
Well, I'll tell you what, we don't have lines yet, right?
Nope,
now.
not yet.
But just very quickly, I mean, this whole city is going to be ready for this game Friday night. Bombers and Argos.
Oh, man.
They're waiting for it all year long. What do you think the line for that game is going to be?
Ooh, a round of
Guesses in the chat. If you're with us on YouTube right now, we don't have a line yet, so let us know. What do you think? Bombers, Argos in Winnipeg, IG Field.
Bombers inside a field goal.
Yeah.
Bombers 2.5, Bombers 2 type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's right. Toronto deserves the respect. I mean, they've been unreal all year long. They had that one loss to Calgary when Chad Kelly got hurt. So who knows? That one could be close to a pick'em by the time we get going. But it's a game of the year.
Can't wait to see that
and
number.
Then, depending on what happens, we'll probably have a similar scenario the following week when the Bombers go into BC. It's going to be a couple fun Friday nights for CFL fans around here.
Cowboys in. He's calling for a pick'em as well. Uchaz says Argos -2.
Argos -2.
Ooh, wow. I don't know.
Big Maple. I just hammered every single under for Burrow I could find. Not a bad strategy.
That's not a bad idea. If he gets in, if let's say it gets out of hand, they take him out. He gets banged up again, they take him out. Not a bad idea. If you can find some pretty juicy numbers on Burrow, slink the under on those. Always a pretty good strategy. Huss, what's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, buddy?
Well, I mean, obviously we had a big day, jersey reveal, fan fest on the weekend, first exhibition game last night. So we'll have lots of stuff on the Jets. We'll start talking about Argo week. Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press will jump on. We'll get into that, a little bit of NFL stuff. Gabriel Velarde, the winner of the Jets, is going to be on the program.
Excellent.
I caught up with him on Saturday at the there. And then with the Jets playing the Oilers, handsome Tommy Gazzola coming up. He'll do the oil stream, and then he's going to jump on around 1:25 Edmonton time, 2:25 Winnipeg time, and we'll chop up a little Jets Oilers talk before this preseason game tonight. And I will further address everything that's happened
with
Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, and how we as the Chiefs Kingdom and the Swifties move forward together with the common goal of happiness, success, and another Super Bowl.
I would just like to quickly throw out there that if what we've learned about Tommy Gazzola so far, I probably wouldn't peg him for 125. You're probably looking at 130, 132, 133. Tommy's been running late a lot lately, so just a heads up.
Yeah, well, listen, the oil stream is next.
Yes.
He's going to be doing it until, what are you guys, go an hour?
We go an hour. We'll go right until 1 o'clock Edmonton time.
So he's doing it from the EST studio. So unless he just, gets sidetracked looking at himself in a mirror or something like that, he will be there ready to go. In fact, I'm calling him. I bet he goes in early. By the way, Big Maple, I'm in with you. Burrow under 258.5.
Ooh, there we go.
I like that.
There we go.
I don't have a lot of confidence. He didn't look good to begin with. He's hurt. How much can he really do?
Plus, against the Rams. Give the Rams a little bit of credit still, man. Rams have played okay, right?
Yeah.
They hung around with the Niners for a bit, for sure. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of The Lock Shop. We'll be back tomorrow. Of course, NHL season not far off. We can dive into some of those. We'll have some CFL lines probably be out, hopefully, by the show tomorrow as well. And we can take an early look ahead to another week of lines in the National Football League as well. We'll be breaking down the 2 Monday Nighters. Lots to get to tomorrow on The Lock Shop. Slide on over. Winnipeg Sports Talk's going to be starting right away as well. And if you're here watching The Lock Shop, stick around. We should be transitioning you, redirecting you right into the oil stream. I'm going to do a little Fantasy Football 5 here first, though, Huss. So we'll talk to you tomorrow, man.
Yeah, I hope you had those Dolphins running backs yesterday.
Buddy, I had Mostert, but I had Devon Achane on the bench in 2 leagues. But I have him, so he won't be scooping him up off the waiver wire, which is half the battle.
That's key.
Yeah.
Enjoy, everyone. Yeah, WST coming up at 1. And yes, if you want to see more of your boy Tommy Gazzola, jump on over to WST after the oil stream is finished.
All right, there you go. That is Huss. Now let's get into the Fantasy Football 5. If you have any fantasy football questions, we're going to hit this quickly, and then we'll go to one quick break, and then we'll come back with the oil stream. But if you want to get in right now, feel free to do so. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Or if you are in the YouTube chat right now, let me know. What do you need help with? We'll kind of look at the Monday Nighters here, and as far as, who are must starts, who are guys that like the running back situation is interesting for the Eagles tonight. I don't know how many of you would have drafted Gainwell or drafted Swift. Based on where the draft position was, you would have drafted Swift earlier and then probably added Gainwell late. I've got Gainwell straight up on his own later in some drafts tonight. I don't know. Are you starting either one of these guys? You have to start Swift after what happened last weekend. And I think I'd probably tough call. It's scary. That's a scary predicament you're in with these running backs tonight. I would say that you start Swift. If you have Gainwell, I'd probably be a little bit hesitant just to see how they use Swift coming into this game again. But that's not an easy spot to be in for sure. I mean, you're looking at a bunch of must-starts. With the way things have gone for Evans so far, Evans and Godwin are must-starts, and Brown and Smith are must-starts. Goddard would be a must-start. That's a bunch of guys that you would be looking at in this situation. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999. If you do have any fantasy football questions, still seeing some other things roll in from the Lock Shop still as well. The Fantasy Football 5 brought to you today and every day by our great NFL partners over at Century Casino on Fort Road. Join Lieutenant Eric tonight for that Rams-Bengals game, and then on Thursday as well. He's always got you covered. It's nice. We don't have to talk about different locations that he's at. You just know on Monday and Thursday nights, Eric will be set up at the Century Sports Bar and Lounge, Century Casino, Fort Road. And on Thursday, October 5th, we will all be there with him. Myself, YouTube Trev, Tommy Gazzola, Matt Awanek, HR Daddy. Like a bunch of us are going to be there on the Thursday night, October 5th. So you can join us for that one. We'll bring some swag. What we might do is give away a spot. You can come in and sit in on the hangout with us. So we'll do that. Maybe do that giveaway. Let's see here. Big Uke says, I've got Chase. I'm playing a guy who has Mixon. Only 1.3 points separating us right now. It's going to be an interesting game to watch tonight. There's nothing like those games that come right down to the wire. This was a tough week overall in the National Football League for me. I'm just kind of looking at some of my leagues. I had one team. I'm in a Marvel Dynasty league, and I've got 208 points in that league. But my other 3 leagues on Sleeper, I'm already done. This is my team in this Dynasty league. This is the one where I lost Aaron Rodgers. Michael, I'll get to your message in a second on the nasty chat over there. I started. This is a good team. I got to acquire a quarterback in this league, I think. But I had Sanders, Diggs, Keenan Allen went off for 46. Kelsey had 25. Marquise Brown had 17 points. Kirk had 15 points. Cortland Sutton even had 17 points this week. Samaje Perine in a flex spot, not great, but I had Mostert in my we got 2 super flex spots. So I had Hurts, who'll be going tonight. And I'm going to set really high score this week in this league. And then Mostert had 46 points. I had CEH on my bench. I have that Chosen guy on my bench, too. He had 1 catch, 68 yards, touchdown as well. And I have Austin on my bench. He had a touchdown this week. So, yeah, that's a pretty stacked team there. But I do need to acquire a second quarterback in a Superflex league. I should have had a third one already. If you're in a Superflex league, quick Superflex league thought process here. You know, everybody usually moves on 2 quarterbacks at least in the first 5 rounds. It's probably not a bad idea to grab that third quarterback like in the 6th or 7th round as well. Then you don't get stuck in these situations like I'm in right now. Eric says, Cincy will be run heavy tonight, in my opinion. Yes. I would think that Joe Mixon outperforms Chase tonight in fantasy. So, Big Uke, that could be a bad night for you. Michael, in the YouTube chat here on the Fantasy Football 5, brought to you by Century Casino, Sports Bar and Lounge. I have Dak, Deshaun, and Russ. Oh, boy. What should I be pulling in for a pick? 3-keeper league, PPR, single QB. Well, I mean, in a single QB league, you should just be dropping Russ. Dak's the keeper. Let's play kiss one, kill one, marry one. You're killing Russell Wilson. You're kissing Deshaun Watson. Insert joke here. And you would be marrying Dak Prescott in that situation. But I don't think I've ever carried 3 quarterbacks in a 1-quarterback league. I usually don't even carry 2 quarterbacks in a 1-quarterback league. However, with Deshaun Watson this year, I do have other quarterbacks in 1-quarterback leagues just because he's very hit and miss. I've got both Colts quarterbacks in one of the leagues, and I've got Justin. Who's the other one I have? Anyway, I've got Watson in 2 leagues, and I do have another quarterback because I'm waiting to see if he actually can figure it out or not. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of the Fantasy Football 5. We'll be taking an early look at waiver wire targets when we are back tomorrow, right around 11:45. If you have any questions, actually, let me slide in my DMs here. I always say if you have any questions, hit me up in the DMs. Let's see here. There were a couple yesterday, some hockey ones. No, I can't find them now. But yeah, if you have any questions, slide into my DMs. And I'll try to answer a few of those here as well as we work our way through the week on the Fantasy Football 5, brought to you by Century Casino, Sports Bar, and Lounge. You're going to want to stick around. Tommy Gazzola is here. Full recap of the preseason game yesterday for the Oilers. And we will also dive into the group going to play in Winnipeg tonight. Not a who's who of a group, but Tommy, have the latest from the rink. That's going to do it for the Fantasy Football 5. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast if you're just watching on YouTube. If you are watching YouTube right now, we are going to automatically redirect you over to the Oil stream. So make sure you have autoplay on, and it should work as we take you over to the Oil stream in just a matter of moments. Tommy and I, right here in the main studio when we return.
The EST Hangout.
Matt Iwanek, Tom Gazzola.
Yeah.
As well as we got Min Darwal from CBC and Doug McLean, Golden Bears Pandas analyst, along with the Stingers.
I think the older this kid gets,
Connor?
you're starting to see glimpses of what we're not privy to inside that room.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, now we're starting to see these guys put a stamp on this team. I think that culture that they're creating, instead of having it top down where it has a trickle down effect, I think it's working both ways where it kind of dictates what happens with